big thing at the draft, Cam Whitmore, who was a projected top 10 pick, slid all the way to the Warriors at 19. They had access to him. I was on Twitter throughout that draft, and the amount of Warrior fans that were screaming basically on Twitter, take Whitmore, take Whitmore, take Whitmore. Athletic, hybrid, wing forward. And the Warriors passed on him and took Podziemski, and the Rockets took him with pick 20. So they come up against the Rockets today, and in terms of the early evaluation on that kind of Podziemski-Whitmore comparison, not a good start for Podziemski and the Warriors, let's put it that way. Cam Whitmore had his hands all over this game. 26 points, 11 for 21 shooting, 5 rebounds, and 8 steals. 8 steals today. Was probably the best player on the floor. So that comparison between those two players, with the Warriors potentially having access, well, not potentially, they did have access to Whitmore in the draft and chose not to take him. Just in terms of that, I do think that the non-selection of Cam Whitmore was more a signal that the Warriors plan on keeping Jonathan Kuminga around long term. I do think that having Kuminga and Whitmore, two similar projecty type of players, would have overlapped and probably would have been too much of a stretch for the Warriors to try and develop both players into a similar role. So I do think that signaled to me that, okay, they've got one guy here who is super athletic, who is really talented, who they want to try and develop, and that's Jonathan Kuminga, and he's not going anywhere, as opposed to bringing Whitmore in, having both of them, and trying to kind of develop both players, as I said, in a similar role. And that could have been a potential sign of the Warriors wanting to move Kuminga this offseason and kind of putting Whitmore into his role as someone who might take a couple of years to find a rotation role. Now, obviously, Kuminga is coming into his third season now, and I'm really high on his ability to be able to contribute come the regular season and into the playoffs next year. Obviously, he had a really impressive regular season in 2022-23, 20 minutes a game. Looked fantastic, one of the most exciting elements of the Warriors season. And hopefully he can build on that rather than the postseason, obviously, where he was axed from the rotation and was stapled to the bench, basically. But I do think that the Whitmore non-selection kind of does signal Kuminga being a part of this franchise moving forward. I do also think that the Warriors simply saw Podziemski as a guy that is a Warrior-style player who is not going to take a couple of years to develop, who has a feel for the game in terms of a quick decision maker. Obviously, his passing ability, which we spoke about at length. I do think that they probably thought, look, does Podziemski have the upside of Whitmore? No, probably not. Whitmore could probably turn into an all-star in this league. But if we can get a rotational piece from year 2 who can be a good, solid player for us in the long term, that's probably worth it over a guy who might be an all-star at his best, but might also never be a rotation piece. And if he is, it's probably going to take to year 3 kind of thing. So I think that was they've clearly shown, I think, in this offseason that they're more willing to go with the safer options, I think, over the risky, high upside but low floor kind of players. And we saw that in the draft with Podziemski and Whitmore, and we saw it with the fact they dealt Jordan Poole for Chris Paul, a turbulent, up and down young guard who's explosive, yes, but also has moments of absolute chaos, compared to just a really steady veteran 18 years into his career, the point guard, who might not be as good in year 2 and 3, but for straight away, he's going to bring a steadiness to the Warriors that they need.